Hello friends, my name is Emile and welcome back to some more Forza Top Gear Laps. Today we're taking a look at some S-Class cars and we kick things off with the 1998 Nissan R390. 550 horsepower, 471 foot-pound of torque, 2,264 pounds of weight. This is the lightest car here today. It's also the highest in PI, highest PI car in the game. S800 is the number on the R390. Now the R390 has a lot to prove here. For those of you who have seen the previous series of Forza Top Gear Laps in the past will know that the R390 is an exceptionally quick car around this track. And it still is. It is a very, very quick car. There is no doubting the R390's pace. It's a bit of a weird one though, because it's never actually felt like it should be as fast as it is, and it is still sort of stealth fast in this game. It is a good-ish car to drive. It does have a couple of issues. You know, nothing really stands out about the way this car drives, but yet it is astonishingly quick around this track. You know, even the statistics aren't very impressive. 550 horsepower. It's a lot of horsepower, don't get me wrong, but it's not a lot for today's standards, and compared to everything else here today, it's actually one of the lower end cars in terms of power. But yet the R390 is ridiculously quick, and we'll have to find out how quick at the end of the show. Next up though, we have the 2012 Porsche 911 GT2 RS. This is a 997 generation of 911. 611 horsepower, 516 foot-pound torque, 3,020 pounds of weight. S-Class car, 779 in PI. Of course, we are looking at S-Class cars today. They're all S-Class. The 911 GT2 RS was, at one point, the most powerful production Porsche ever. Of course, since then, a lot has changed. We've had the 918 Spider, which basically completely demolishes this car in power aspects, but still the 911 GT2 RS is an insanely quick car from this generation. It doesn't weigh a whole lot. You know, the R390 is exceptionally light, but this is actually the third lightest car here today, sorry, yeah. It is still exceptionally quick. It is brutal to drive. It is rear-engine rear drive, which means you get exceptional acceleration. It's not quite as sharp as you'd expect. It's not quite as sharp as it has been in the previous games. Then again, we have got the brand new 2018 911 GT2 RS to look forward to, and I'm sure that's just as sharp as this car used to be. But yeah, not quite as sharp as it used to be, but it is still a very brutal car, still incredibly quick. Front end can lift up occasionally on this vehicle. That is something you do need to watch for. Next up, 2002 Ferrari Enzo, 650 horsepower, 484 foot-pound torque, 3,086 pounds of weight. The most powerful car here today, which is kind of ironic considering this is the second oldest car here today. The Enzo is S769, so not too bad in terms of the PI front. The Ferrari Enzo, of course, one of the world's sort of first attempts at sort of going towards the hypercar spectrum back in 2002. This thing was the hottest supercar on the planet. Of course, times have changed since then. The Enzo hasn't aged particularly well in styling. I've never really been a huge fan of the Ferrari Enzo to begin with. I'm much more a fan of the MC12. That being said though, the Enzo is a pretty darn good car to drive. Interestingly enough, similar to sort of the GT2 Rs, not quite as good as it used to be. This car used to be a rather exceptional thing. It was basically MC12 handling, but slightly faster. It has lost a little bit of its edge now. I'm assuming the MC12, hopefully, I've driven it a few times and it seems to have kept its handling prowess, so it seems they've decided to stick some of the more handling orientated traits to the MC12 now, which is going to be interesting to see when that goes around the track. Next up, a brand new supercar, I guess. This is the 2016 Audi R8 V10 Plus, 610 horsepower, 413 foot-pound torque, 3,428 pounds of weight, S748, so quite down on PI compared to the Enzo. The R8, not a car I'm a huge fan of, really not a fan of the Audi R8. It sort of comes across to me as kind of a boring supercar, and I don't think there really should be such a thing as a boring supercar, so yeah, never really been a huge proponent of the R8. I don't even think it particularly looks good, although this newer generation of R8 has fixed a lot of the issues that I've had with the car. However, driving it certainly hasn't changed my impression of the R8. The R8's not particularly great. It's fine. It does like to step out a lot though, which I wasn't expecting. It likes to power slide. It is a very easy car to drive, and it's very easy to control when it does inevitably go sideways. The problem is, when it's going sideways, it affects the time, and you know, you even see it a few times on this lap. You can see sort of smoke billowing from all four wheels, and that's sort of the car getting unsettled. It almost wants to go into a 90-degree angle, which isn't particularly great, and as such it probably did affect the time a little bit of the R8. One car that had no such issues though is the 2008 Dodge Viper SRT10 ACR. 600 horsepower, 560 foot-pound torque, 3,408 pounds of weight. The torquiest car here today is the Viper. However, power-wise, not hugely exciting. It's about in the middle in terms of power here today. S738 is the PI on the ACR Viper. Similar to the R390, if you've watched older episodes of Forza Top Gear Laps, you will know that the ACR Viper from 2008 is a pretty incredible car. It's basically a Viper with all the downforce in the world. It handles absolutely astonishingly, and it's no different here. This car is amazing, as it always has been. It grips super well. It does not step out. It doesn't even remotely think about stepping out of line. It is a truly incredible handling car. Truly incredible thing to handle and drive, because, you know, it's a Dodge Viper, so you think, oh yeah, Viper's going to step out of line, so on and so forth. Doesn't do that. If there's one complaint about the ACR, I guess it hasn't got too much in the way of straight line speed. I believe it only tops out about 170 miles per hour, but that's because of all the downforce it has pushing it to the ground. And, you know, I'll take downforce over speed any day of the week. Next up, 2009 Ferrari 458 Italia, 562 horsepower, 398 foot-pound of torque, 3,274 pounds of weight. Interestingly, this is the lowest amount of torque in any car here today. S724 is the PI on the 458, so we're starting to drop to the bottom end of the S-Class cars. Of course, the Ferrari 458 Italia at one point was the supercar benchmark. In fact, it was for a very long time. This was considered to be the best supercar in the world. Never really been a huge fan of the 458 Italia. I don't particularly care for the way it looks, and I've never really liked the way it drives either. I've always been much more of a proponent of the Mclaren 12C. I've always thought that's a better handling car, in my personal opinion. Slightly better looking. The 458 Italia, though, I'm pleased to say in this game, it's way better than it was before. This car legitimately shocks me with just how good it is to handle these days. You know, before it was actually quite a slidey car. You know, the rear end wanted to come out. It didn't feel hugely planted. It was fun, but it wasn't hugely quick. Now, though, the Ferrari 458 feels really planted. It feels quite like it's quite an exceptional car to drive. It actually feels not too far off the handling prowess of the 12C, which utterly shocked me. And you know what? I like the 458 a little bit more for that. Next up, 2015 McLaren 570S, 562 horsepower, 442 foot-pound of torque, 3,016 pounds of weight. Second lightest car here today. S723 in PI. Interestingly enough, same amount of power as you got in the 458 Italia. The 570S, of course, the baby McLaren, as we call it. This is the entry-level model that they currently offer, and no, I don't like this car. First off, I think it is horrifically ugly. It is not a good looking car, the 570S. Admittedly, this purple paint is actually quite cool, and it does sort of hide the look of the car a little bit, but yeah, the 570S is really not a very good looking car. Don't think it sounds particularly good. I just don't really see much of a purpose for it. And on top of that, driving it, it's not great. It really is not great. It's similar to Forza Motorsport 6. This car has a rather lot of understeer, which you wouldn't really expect from this car. Although I've heard in real life, 570S, it's actually quite an understeery car. And yeah, you can really feel that in the game. It sort of has mild to moderate understeer. By far and away the worst understeer I've dealt with here today. Yeah, it's just not a great car. I'm sure you could probably tune it up and get it to be relatively good, but at that point I'd rather just buy a 12C. Or something like that. And then finally today, we start with a Nissan, we end with a Nissan. This is the 2012 Nissan GT-R Black Edition. 542 horsepower, 466 foot-pound of torque, 3,887 pounds of weight. This is the least powerful car here today. It is also the heaviest car. S702 in PI also means it's the lowest PI car here today. And in fact, tying with all of the other GT-Rs, basically, it is the lowest PI S-Class car in the game. Yeah, Nissan GT-R, a car which is more a computer than a car. Yeah, it's never really been my thing. I think the new model greatly improves the car for me, the 2017. I really like the new face they've put on it. I think it improves things a lot. This car, it's always sort of come across to me as a very technologically advanced boat. It is extremely heavy. and it's never quite driven as nicely as most people make it out to drive in real life. Indeed, here in the game, it is on the understeery side, not quite as bad as the 570S, but there is still a bit of it there. It's okay. I mean, it gets around corners fine enough. It's a pretty easy car to drive. But it's not a particularly rewarding car. It's not something that you sort of get in and drive for fun. It's something that you sort of drive out of necessity, or if you just need something nice to learn in. So, yeah, not a hugely quick car. Anyways, onto the leaderboard, and unsurprisingly, it's the R390. That's the quickest car of today. 1:12.544. That's an astonishingly quick time. That, of course, puts it into first place, fastest car we've ever had. R390 is always incredible, incredible thing. 911 GT2 RS goes in second with a 1:14.190, which is pretty darn respectable, and the Ferrari Enzo is in third with a 1:14.220, which, yeah, pretty decent times from both of those cars considering their age. The Dodge Viper SRT 10 goes into fourth with a 1:14.590, beating the 12C by 0.5 of a second. Bear in mind, that 12C was tested at Top Gear. That car's known to be quick around Top Gear. Yeah, the ACR, incredible, incredible thing. Audi R8 V10 Plus, however, did not fare as well. Sixth place with a 1:15.429, just down to the weird handling characteristics of that car. Ferrari 458 Italia goes in 7th with 1:16.253, a significantly better time than it's ever got here, actually beats the Lotus 211 as well, which is interesting. Mclaren 570S goes into 9th with 1:16.702, losing out slightly to the 211, just the understeer issue in that car killed it. And a bit of a ways down, the Nissan GTR Black Edition goes into 10th with a 1:17.904, does beat out the Ferrari FF, but not a hugely quick car, it has to be said. So there you go, that is all of the class-based episode of Forza Top Gear Laps done. I do hope you've enjoyed them. Next time, we are doing a special. We're taking a look at the cars of Fate of the Furious, or the Furious 8 Special. So there's certainly some interesting cars in that pack. Join me for that. Until then, friends, thank you all very much for watching, and farewell.